Israeli Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu had what was possibly one of the most disastrous appearances at the UN, possibly in history. This was really embarrassing. Everybody hated it. And I'm Cam from Bulwark, joined today by our friend Jack to take a look. But let's see how everybody reacted at first. So as you can see, this is everybody walking the fuck out
order in the hall.
When Netanyahu went up. This is them exiting the room when the war criminal goes up to give his impassioned speech. But what we're about to see as well is Bibi's reaction. And it's important to look at his face, because even soulless creatures can show us when their hearts or whatever is left of them are broken. Ooh, that is not the face of a happy war
Order in the hall.
My big takeaway was the guy, and I was trying to watch, who was like doing this. I think that anyone who holds their phone up in this manner should just like be investigated. Like, I just feel like this. There was a guy who's like taking video of people leaving, where it's like, I'm going to find you, and I'm gonna dox that you left the speech, and it's like, all right, guy, relax. And I just think that's kind of like symptomatic of all of this.
I was at a birthday party recently, and there was someone walking around with a disposable camera, and it's someone who's like kind of aggressive and pushy in like a way that he thinks is actually charming, but is really annoying. And he would walk up to people with a disposable and just go and like sneak take a picture of them as if it was like funny and cute that he was doing that. But anyway,
off topic, because we're going to get into more of this. I hate the disposable camera. What a waste of resources. I'm sorry. If you want pictures that look like disposable camera photos, you can just edit them. Whatever. We're moving on.
No, but that's true. Like, it's bad for the environment, and like you can just edit. Like, there's apps where you can do that, and it looks anyway. Bibi Netanyahu gave his speech at the UN. Everybody hated it. Before the speech, he ordered the IDF bring giant loudspeakers into the Gaza Strip so all the Palestinians could hear his speech. And they also apparently got into the cell phones of Palestinians in Gaza to broadcast the speech from there, which is like some shit that a Bond villain would do, like hacking everybody's cell phones and sending them messages to watch this UN speech where Netanyahu's cracking jokes that nobody's laughing at in a Jeb Bush please clap style moment. Look at this shit.
Last month, even the UN, not exactly a supporter of Israel. You're supposed to laugh, by the way.
Did you hear that one laugh after he said that? Like, you're supposed to laugh, by the way. It's not charming, and it really goes to show how far we've come, because Netanyahu was receiving a standing ovation from the United States government very recently. And by the way, the United States government is still basically kissing his ring at every turn. But things are different. Things are so different. Things are different from how they were 3 months ago. They're way different from how they were 6 months ago. And it's just, you see in Netanyahu's dead, soulless eyes, the look of somebody who knows that no matter how many more people he kills, he lost.
Yeah,
like, it's over.
It's funny that you could have a worse speech than Trump telling everyone that their countries are going to hell and saying he's launching a full investigation that better end with arrest into an escalator. But yeah, you really can feel the it's over of it all. And it's only further emphasized by the response. Like, I wonder if these people know how like negatively polarizing, again, like the reason why I was so fixated on the guy who was like jamming his camera in people's faces to be like, you are leaving and we're gonna find you and we're gonna make your life hell because you left. It's like,
dude, everybody left.
Like, that's not going to get anyone to come to your side. It's just going to make people hate you more. And that's the thing that's been happening. And I don't know if we're going to check out some of these clips, but I saw some of influencers who were speaking with Netanyahu after, and all the questions were like around PR. And it was one like, Christian Zionist who was being like, well, we need the evangelicals. So how do we make sure we save the evangelicals and that they still care about us? And Netanyahu was like, well, it's good because we are getting TikTok now. We are going to have TikTok.
We'll get to TikTok. Before we do, I want to take a look at how Netanyahu has changed his messaging now that the UN has deemed this a genocide. The UN itself has now called genocide of the Palestinian people a genocide. And Netanyahu, I think he thought this was an own, and I think he thought this was like a gotcha, but he sort of lumped himself in with some kind of negative actions.
What, did the Nazis ask the Jews to leave, kindly leave, go out? Did others, you want me to name all the genocidal leaders of history? Just go one by one. Did anyone do this? Did they say, get out so we can come in? Of course not.
Got him. I'm not committing a genocide. Listen to me directly comparing myself to these people who have committed genocide. He's getting bad at this, and he was actually really good at like PR and messaging not even that long ago. And it's hit the shit so hard. But real quick, just into the actual meat of the speech, I want to debunk a couple things. One of his claims is that if Hamas agrees to Israel's demands, the war could end, quote, right now. As we know, Israel, with full political and military support from the United States, has blocked numerous efforts to reach a ceasefire in Gaza. He claimed that Israel is taking great pains to minimize civilian casualties in Gaza. And as we know, contrary to Netanyahu's statement that the ratio of non-combatant to combatant casualties in Gaza is, quote, less than 2 to 1, an investigation in August revealed a classified Israeli database that clearly showed 83% of the people in Israel was killing in Gaza were civilians. Last one is the claim that Israel is not blocking aid from entering Gaza. It is Hamas that is stealing the aid from the Palestinians. And the fact check is that several reports have found Hamas is not stealing the meager aid that is allowed into Gaza. And one report was by Israel's own army, another by USAID, the US's foreign aid agency. So he's lying and he's lying and he's lying. And the difference, I guess, now between this instance and other ones is the fact that people aren't buying it anymore. But you raised kind of the important topic that we need to transition into, which is PR and Israel's efforts to win the PR war. And you can see in this video, Netanyahu already has a plan.
We're going to have to use the tools of battle. You know, the weapons change over time. You can't fight today with swords. That doesn't work very well, okay?
Sure.
And you can't fight with cavalry. That doesn't work very well.
One good point.
You have these new things, you know, like drones, things like that. I won't get into that. But we have to fight with the weapons that apply to the battlefields in which we're engaged. And the most important ones are the social media. And the most important purchase that is going on right now is TikTok.
Okay, that was good delivery. Leaning in and saying class, that was good delivery. BB1. Have you seen the discourse online where people have discovered that these aren't actual flags behind these world leaders? It's just cones that are shaped to look like perfectly placed flags. Have you seen that?
No, I didn't. I always figured that they were all weird looking, so it must have been something.
Well,
but
look at that flag behind Netanyahu that is so conveniently, like, perfectly laid out. Like, this happens with American flags too. They set up these cones to look like flags that are being perfectly hung, and they just kind of blend in and nobody notices. And it's very good set dressing. This isn't some sort of negative conspiracy theory. It's just me pointing out that whoever
it could be though.
Kind of slayed with that, I guess. But
Let's get into a negative conspiracy, but let's talk about TikTok, because this is the most consequential move happening right now in American media, even in the midst of Paramount and Skydance, moves by Disney to further acquire streaming platforms. The purchase of TikTok is one that is largely flown under the radar because it doesn't really tout the most well-known billionaires, but has the scariest to me right now. Both Lachlan and Rupert Murdoch will be involved in the purchase and sit on a board of 6. But among them,
too. Isn't Oracle involved?
So Oracle is the biggest player because they will be storing TikTok's data. But Larry Ellison is quietly becoming the most important billionaire in America, and thus the most important billionaire in the world, which is very, very scary because Oracle, of course, stores all of our data, but is working in connection with NVIDIA, and they just did a deal with NVIDIA and OpenAI, so they're in the AI race, which is fucking awful. But it's not just Larry Ellison and his ownership of Oracle, but his son David Ellison, of course, was the one who oversaw the Skydance and Paramount merger that is, of course, snatching up Barry Weiss and bringing her into the fold. That's thinking about, further expansion into the purchase of CNN.
Sometimes I wonder, when it comes to the Ellison guys and everything like that, I wonder if there's some secret organization that involves Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, and Jeff Bezos, where they've all made some sort of pact with people like Peter Thiel and the Ellisons, where they're like, we are going to peacock ourselves and just put out to be the most hateable billionaires in the country. And we're just going to continue getting more and more hateable. You know, Zuck is going to start wearing a gold chain and going on Joe Rogan and saying the business world needs more masculine energy. Elon's going to continue crashing out and saying that Trump is in the Epstein files, and then appearing with Trump, who he said was in the Epstein files at Charlie Kirk's funeral, and then being named as somebody who was in the Epstein files in one way or another himself. Like, and Bezos doing his shit in outer space. Like, I think there's a chance some billionaires were like, you know what? I like attention anyway. I'm going to
sacrifice myself
to me. So people like
Larry Ellison is the scariest guy to me. Data storage and the way that he's building out his media empire is very, very unsettling, especially considering how pro-Trump and pro this Netanyahu regime he is, and he's made that, very, very clear. He is the person who worries me the most, and he's certainly lurking in the shadows. So if you want to know more about Larry Ellison and what he's doing, we should definitely talk about that. But yeah, this is a marketplace no longer dictated by what is good, but what is in the interest of the biggest billionaires in the world. Because a lot of people will say, of course, we saw the cancellation of Stephen Colbert's show so we could have the Skydance Paramount merger, but that's just not true. David Ellison, the son of Larry Ellison, was making that decision because his father needed unchecked resources in the AI race for Trump to completely let them rip. So of course, there was the appeasement of Trump with that merger happening, but it really goes up to Larry Ellison being the dad of the CEO who oversaw the merger, because he needs Trump to continue to be supportive of him and completely unregulating the AI industry so he cannot be a billionaire but a trillionaire. It's something that I come back to, and this is the end of my rant, but I remember a lot in the lead up to 2024 of Tim talking about the business community, and it's like, how could you not see that Donald Trump would be worse for business than Kamala Harris? And of course, Donald Trump is overseeing what will soon be termed a recession, although the stock market is artificially inflated. But what I think is important to consider is the business interests that made Donald Trump president were not guys who were looking for 7% year over year. But Larry Ellison is after becoming a trillionaire with unchecked corporate power and essentially monopolies over media, while AI explodes because it's been unregulated. Thereafter, the big play: Zuck, Bezos, Thiel, Ellison. These guys have a lot more at play and a lot more influence than a couple of hedge fund guys on Wall Street, even more so than Jamie Dimon. And so I think it is important to realize, it's not the business interest of the past is four guys. And I think we really need to act like that.
Yeah, Trump is, in fact, very good for business. He is good for the business of, I would say, six guys. I think that you're leaving out maybe two guys. But the last thing I want to say to this, and this is just a personal opinion, is stuff like Larry and David Ellison. You got to shut the fuck up about Hollywood nepotism when you see some director's kid in a movie that you don't like. Like, you can absolutely point out why they got cast in the movie if they suck in the movie. But the degree to which people just immediately hate Hollywood Nepo babies, where there are Nepo babies that are a real problem is government.
Yep.
Is giant conglomerates, banking. Some asshole's son gets a job banking, ends up fucking people over financially because he's a fucking idiot who only got the job because, there's industries in which nepotism is a serious problem where there are human consequences to the incompetence of children of famous or prestigious or successful people. Hollywood, it's like, okay, yes, it's annoying to see some director or producer or
but
other
no
actor's kid in a, but generally speaking, the only thing that can die is the tension in a scene or, the narrative structure of a script. Like, objectively speaking, Hollywood nepotism is an annoyance compared to the nepotism in things like banking, politics, or whatever the fuck the Ellisons are doing. With Bulwark, we're Cam and Jack. Thank you all for tuning in. Like and subscribe and all that. Take care.